Hello friends, welcome back to TechBlog 66. Today we are diving into a fascinating courtroom drama from 1947, a film directed by the Master of Suspense himself, Alfred Hitchcock. The movie is The Paradine Case, a dark, psychological legal thriller that explores obsession, morality, and the dangerous line between professional duty and personal desire. If you love classic black and white cinema, layered characters, and intense courtroom confrontations, then stay with me, because this film offers much more than a simple murder mystery. Let's begin. Released in 1947, The Paradine Case was one of Hitchcock's Hollywood projects during his contract with producer David O. Selznick. Unlike many of Hitchcock's fast-paced thrillers, this film is more deliberate, more dialogue-driven, and deeply psychological. It's less about, who did it, and more about, why do we believe what we want to believe? The story revolves around Mrs. Madalena Paradine, played by the elegant and mysterious Alida Valli. She is accused of poisoning her wealthy, blind husband. From the very beginning, her character is wrapped in ambiguity. Is she an innocent widow wrongfully accused? Or is she a calculating woman who knows exactly how to manipulate those around her? Enter Anthony Keane, a respected London barrister, portrayed by Gregory Peck. Keane is a successful lawyer with a loving wife and a strong reputation. When he takes on Mrs. Paradine's defense, he believes he is simply doing his professional duty. However, as the case progresses, he becomes emotionally entangled with his client. What starts as professional admiration slowly transforms into obsession. This is where Hitchcock's brilliance shines. Instead of focusing solely on courtroom suspense, he shifts the tension inward. The real drama is not just about whether Mrs. Paradine is guilty or innocent. The real drama is happening inside Anthony Keane's mind. Keane becomes infatuated with Mrs. Paradine. He begins to see her not as a possible criminal, but as a tragic, misunderstood woman. His objectivity fades. His marriage begins to suffer. His judgment becomes clouded. And that psychological unraveling is more intense than any gunshot or chase scene. Gregory Peck delivers a powerful performance here. He portrays Keane as dignified and controlled on the outside, but internally conflicted. You can see the struggle in his eyes. The way he looks at Mrs. Paradine tells us everything. It's admiration mixed with desire, mixed with denial. Alida Valli, on the other hand, gives a performance that is quiet, controlled, and chilling. She speaks softly. She rarely raises her voice. But her presence dominates every scene she is in. Hitchcock uses close-ups to capture her expressionless face, making the audience question what she is thinking. Is she grateful? Is she manipulating? Is she hiding something? Another important character is Keane's wife, Gay Keane, played by Ann Todd. She represents loyalty, stability, and moral clarity. As she watches her husband drift away emotionally, her silent suffering becomes one of the film's most heartbreaking elements. Her character grounds the story in reality. She sees what Keane refuses to see. The courtroom sequences are long, detailed, and intense. Hitchcock carefully builds tension through dialogue, pauses, and reactions rather than dramatic action. One key figure in the trial is André Latour, the Paradine family's valet, portrayed by Louis Jordan. His presence adds another layer of complexity to the case. His relationship with Mrs. Paradine raises questions, suspicions, and jealousy. The courtroom becomes a battlefield, not just of evidence, but of pride and emotion. Keane cross-examines witnesses with increasing desperation. He wants to prove Mrs. Paradine's innocence, but at the same time, he wants to prove to himself that his feelings are justified. What makes this film unique in Hitchcock's filmography is its emotional focus. When we think of Hitchcock, we often think of fast-paced thrillers like Psycho or Rear Window. But The Paradine Case is slower, heavier, and more tragic. It feels almost like a stage play brought to the screen, with long scenes and dramatic confrontations. The cinematography is classic noir style. Shadows dominate the frame. Courtroom scenes feel suffocating. Close-ups are used strategically to show psychological tension. Hitchcock doesn't rely on background music to create suspense. Instead, he uses silence. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Silence becomes loud. There is also a strong theme of illusion versus reality. Keane creates an idealized version of Mrs. Paradine in his mind. He projects innocence onto her. He convinces himself that she is a victim. But is that the truth? Or is that simply his fantasy? This theme of male obsession appears in several Hitchcock films. We can see similar psychological patterns later in Vertigo, where a man becomes obsessed with a woman and creates a false image of her in his mind. In many ways, the Paradine Case feels like an early exploration of that idea. Now let's talk about pacing. Some viewers may find the film slow. It runs over 2 hours, and much of that time is spent in legal discussions and courtroom arguments. If you are expecting constant twists and shocking revelations, you may feel impatient. But if you appreciate character study and emotional tension, this film rewards patience. The turning point of the story comes during a dramatic courtroom revelation. I won't spoil the details completely, but let's just say that the truth, when it comes out, is devastating. Not only for the accused, but for Anthony Keane himself. The ending is not triumphant. It is tragic. It is uncomfortable. It forces the audience to reflect on pride, ego, and the consequences of emotional blindness. Hitchcock does not give us easy answers. Instead, he leaves us with moral ambiguity. Was Mrs. Paradine manipulating Keane from the beginning? Or did she simply allow him to believe what he wanted to believe? Is Keane a victim of her charm? Or is he responsible for his own downfall? These questions make the film powerful even decades later. Let's also appreciate the production design. The sets are grand and detailed. The courtroom feels authentic. The lighting enhances the dramatic tone. Even though it is a 1947 film, the visual quality holds up remarkably well. However, it's important to mention that the Paradine Case was not considered one of Hitchcock's biggest successes at the time of its release. It received mixed reviews and did not perform as strongly at the box office compared to some of his other films. Over time, though, many critics have re-evaluated it and recognized its psychological depth. For fans of Gregory Peck, this is an interesting role because it shows a flawed and morally weak character. Unlike his later heroic performances, here he plays a man whose intelligence is overshadowed by his obsession. That complexity makes his performance memorable. The supporting cast also adds richness to the story. Every character feels purposeful. The judge, the opposing counsel, the witnesses, they all contribute to the mounting pressure inside the courtroom. From a modern perspective, the film also sparks discussion about gender dynamics. Mrs. Paradine is portrayed as mysterious and possibly manipulative, fitting into the classic femme fatale archetype of film noir. But at the same time, the film questions the male gaze. Keane's downfall is not caused by her actions alone. It is caused by his inability to separate fantasy from reality. That psychological insight is what elevates this film beyond a simple legal drama. If you are someone who enjoys intellectual cinema, slow-burning tension, and morally complex storytelling, then the Paradine Case deserves your attention. It may not be Hitchcock's most famous work, but it is certainly one of his most thought-provoking. So, what is my final verdict here on TechBlog 66? The Paradine Case is a dark, elegant, and emotionally intense courtroom drama. It explores obsession with subtlety and intelligence. While it may feel slow for some viewers, its psychological depth and strong performances make it worth watching. I would rate this film 8 out of 10 for its storytelling, acting, and thematic complexity. If you have already watched The Paradine Case, let me know in the comments. Do you think Mrs. Paradine was truly evil, or was Anthony Keane the architect of his own destruction? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this review, please like, share, and subscribe to TechBlog 66 for more classic movie breakdowns and deep cinematic discussions. We explore timeless films, hidden gems, and masterpieces from around the world. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. This movie is available on YouTube free.